great deal. And seeing everybody here, his friends, people who surfed with him, patients, people who recognized his basic humanity, a dentist who would join with Doctors Without Borders to provide dental care for indigenous people in different parts of the world. He was a light in this world, and though he's not with us physically at this time, the light, the afterglow remains. Honoring his Jewish heritage, I'm here to offer some traditional Jewish prayers. I'm going to begin
but my voice can carry, so I don't worry. I'm going to start with a passage that I believe is familiar to many people here. It's the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my
shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. The next two prayers, it's traditional to stand for, so if you're comfortable standing, I would invite you to do so. The first is a memorial prayer, and I'm going to say it first in English so everybody will understand what it is, okay? Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Carlos Daniel Jaffa, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God, you are his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and we all say, Amen.
Amen.
El male rachamim, shochen gam ramim, hametzeh menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, im kedoshim u'toharim, kezohar harakim mazirim, et nishmat yakireinu shehalak lalamo bal harachamim yasireu beseter kenafav leolamim v'yizror b'yizror chayim et nishmataho Adonai u'nachalato v'yanuach v'shalom al mishkabo v'nomar Amen. And the final prayer that I'm going to offer is known as the Kaddish. Before I do so, however, I'd like to invite up one of Danny's friends from childhood, from their days together in synagogue in Alhambra, who is going to offer a few notes on this very ancient instrument to get us into the proper frame. The Kaddish, though we say it as we remember those who have gone before us, really does not speak of death. It is a prayer of hope. It is a reminder that even at the darkest times in our lives, there is hope for the future. And the key line is the last one, which asks for peace. Peace in this world. La paz. And we're living through such a difficult and troubled time. We all certainly join in that hope for peace. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divarach erutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechonu b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'agalau v'zman kariv v'yimru amen Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shnei Dikudsha Baruchu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata B'Shirata Tushbachata V'Nachamata Kamiran Ba'alma V'Imru Amen Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya V'Chaim Aleinu Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen Yaseh Shalom V'Imramav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'Imru Amen. May the one who makes peace, la paz, in the heights of heaven, help us to create peace in this world. And we all say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated.
That was beautiful. Thank you, God, for Danny. It was beautiful, man. Ken, would you like to come say something? I don't know where you are. There you are.
Hi, everyone. It's difficult for me. Thanks for coming. I know Dan would really appreciate knowing that he had so many people that cared and loved and cared for him. I've got a little bit of stuff I wrote down about our history, and I'm going to go through it with you. I've got some funny stories as well that I lived with Dan when we were kids through the years. But I first wanted to start about Danny's history here. And Danny's parents were from Uruguay, South America, and they came to the U.S. His father was a dentist, and he came to the U.S. with the dream of becoming a dentist he came from Uruguay to become a dentist in the U.S. He brought the boys, Alex, Ernie, and of course Danny, and they started from the ground up. They lived in apartments. They lived in El Sereno in LA, and the father went to USC Dental School, almost knowing no English, and he graduated with a USC dental degree and started his practice. The family kind of moved on up and ended up buying a very nice house in South Pasadena on Via del Rey, and which was down the street from where I lived. And but he got the American dream for him and his family, brought them to the U.S. and became a very good dentist. I met the Jaffes in about 1978. I probably was about 13. I met Ernie, I think at the Monterey Hills School down the street, and we became friends. Now, I would walk down the hill and hang out with them. Now, there was kind of a brotherhood. There was, of course, I mentioned Dr. Alberto Jaffe is the dad, and Rosita Rose Jaffe was his mother, and I was kind of the bratty kid up the street who would come and bother them. Now, I don't want to leave out the Farinas. So the Farinas lived across the street, and there was a cardiologist, Dr. Jose B. Farina, and Maria, his wife, and there were 3 boys, Pedro, Miguel, and Andre. Now, we were sort of inseparable. We were kind of a boys' club. We all lived on the same street. Now, most of them surfed. I did not surf. I'd go with them and hang out on the beach. I surf now. I'm learning to surf. I'm in this wetsuit, and it took me quite a bit of time to get into it. And thanks to my wife, who is a surfer, she's been a great help. But we were brothers. We hung out together, and we did the things that teenage boys did back then. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to catch up here. They enjoyed surfing, motorcycles. The boys had mopeds, the Pook mopeds with the little engines on them. I know that Ernie had a Honda 70 that we always would ride around. And, the father bought them cars and stuff like that they could always play. Danny had a CB900F sport bike, which was too big for all of us, but he drove that around, and it was pretty awesome. It ended up that I became very close with Danny, more so than the other boys. Danny became kind of my mentor. Danny while I was going through a lot of hard stuff as a teenager, in high school, junior high, he gave me the message that that education is important, and that you really need to follow the rules, Ken, and not be such a delinquent. I was hanging out with a lot of the kids that were down the hill and Straw Hat Pizza, if anybody knows what that means. Hung out with a fun crowd. I had a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but I had to kind of steer the direction of where I wanted to go in life to be successful. It was very difficult. Now, Danny had a very good influence on me, and my father really was happy about that. So I wanted to share that with you. There was, I've got some funny stories to tell you too that you're really gonna laugh. He was sort of like my bodyguard as well. So there were times when I would be with him, meeting him at the high school from the junior high, and there would be a punk rocker guy walking by with Doc Martens and a mohawk. We were actually at the high school, corner of Fremont. Some of you know where that is. And there's these bathrooms. And Danny said, I'm going to use the bathroom, wait for me. So I sat there and I waited, and punk rocker guy goes by with his Doc Martens and his and I'm sitting there with my Ocean Pacific pants and my long hair and, surfer attire and the stoner, the loadies, right? He sees me staring at him, and I don't remember his name, but he didn't like me staring at him, and he basically said, what are you looking at, dude? And I was just like, well, nothing. And he was going to come over and mess with me. And all of a sudden, Danny walks out of the bathroom. And Danny had a reputation, I think, because he won a fight. At high school, I think there was a guy named Eddie Serta that he fought. He looked at the punk rocker and said, hey, what do you want with this guy? And he looked at him and he went, hey, Jaffe, gave him like a high five, and then he just left. And so, but I'd always hang out. I'd try to hang out with Danny. Danny was great. I loved him. So, okay. Work ethic. Danny got a job at Dean's Chevron, over by, I guess it was Albertsons. I don't know. It's over where the restaurant is, the new, anyways, he worked at, the gas station's not there anymore, but he had a work ethic. He would work, but it was great. He went to school. Okay. So I'm gonna move on to later on. So Danny's parents passed away, and that was very difficult for him and the whole family. The Farinas, Danny's brothers. I was not around. I moved to Northern California, and so I kind of reconnected with Danny in the 90s and heard about it. But Danny had to deal, and the boys, his brothers had to deal with an estate, and so they did. And Danny finished his dental school at USC, and he moved here. He moved here to Beach, got a house, and Danny started.
Thank you so much.
Danny was doing his internship before. He was working at different dental offices after he got his degree, and finally was able to purchase the business here in Huntington Beach. I don't think the passing of his parents he ever came to terms with. I think it was something that he really had a problem with and was never resolved it within himself. That's my take. He was a great dentist. Danny was a great dentist. I'm sad that I don't have him as a dentist. I'm sure we all are. And I would basically sit in that chair and he would tell jokes and I wouldn't reply. I would just he's like, "What's wrong, Ken?" You know, funny guy. Very sad that he's not here for me to call and talk to. Danny became kind of an extended part of my family, the Pine family, and he would go to our Hanukkah parties, and he would also accompany my family and me to Catalina Island, which is an annual trip that I've gone with my family since I was 5. And I'm very sad that he won't be able to go on those with me anymore. His family would go as well. Danny had 3 children, Tommy, Nick, and Lucas, with Mati. And we would hang out with them quite a bit. And they would actually come up to San Francisco and we would go out and together quite a bit. So it was kind of a ritual. He would come up and camp at one of the campsites up there or stay in a hotel. And that went on for quite a few years. So that's kind of most of all the stuff I have to talk about Danny. He was the best man at my wedding when I married my wife, Xanthi. He came. I was so happy to have him there. It was in Central Coast where my wife is from, in Cambria. And it was funny, I mean, because I got to watch Danny stand up and try to talk sentiment and be like, "So sweet, the marriage." And to me, I was, as you know, his best friend, I'm just laughing at him going, because it was kind of mushy and Danny wasn't really, you know, sweet, mushy, you know, at least for me, you know. So it was just, you know, but I really enjoyed having him there, and very proud to have him as a best man. He also was at my wedding, which was at in San Francisco. So, anyways, I think that's really all I got. Oh yeah, okay. So you guys want some more funny stories? I've actually got some really funny ones. So Seinfeld, Danny loved Seinfeld and memorized these things. So that was what I was gonna say. Danny had a thing about memorizing things, and you know, I don't know if it was him trying, you know, when he came from South America between Spanish and learning English, but he memorized all these commercials from the 70s when we were kids, like the Save on Drug and the dental. The thing about denting, where 7 out of 10 dentists recommend the treatment. He like memorized the whole thing and would recite it backwards for word. You know, the thrifty jingles. He just was very good at memorizing these things. It was funny. He loved Seinfeld, and he would recite some of the Seinfeld stuff back and forth, like even the anti-dentist one. But we had a lot of fun with that. So one more funny story I'm going to tell you before we get into the spiritual about what we're going to do here today for Danny is the Jaffes had a swimming pool in their backyard. And the boys drained it so they could skateboard in it, and so they drained it. And then one day Danny wanted to get tan, and so he put on these Speedos, and he put on all of this like suntan lotion, and he put a lawn chair in the middle of the pool, and he got in there and started soaking up the rays, and we like saw him there, and we were laughing so hard, and we actually went and got some of the kids from the neighborhood, and we brought him in to the pool, and you know, he was kind of had his eyes closed and something, and we all yelled, and he woke up and saw us sitting there with his Speedos on, and you know, probably just so a lot of good times with Danny. I'm really sad that I can't, you know, I could you have a best friend like this, you think about stuff and you can call them, and whether it's a dilemma you're having in your life or whatever, you can call them and rely on them, and he can do the same with me. And it's really difficult for me not to be able to think of a joke or think of something we did when we were kids and pick up the phone and I gotta call Danny, I gotta tell him this. And that's really difficult for me. I don't think I'll have anybody that will understand where I'm coming from or the joke that I have to tell other than Danny. And so I'm really sad about that as well. So on the spiritual end of things, I am Jewish. I'm not a practicing Jew. That whole thing kind of fell apart when my parents divorced. So, but I do believe in some spiritual stuff and energies, and so for this ceremony, from what I understand, it's a ceremony about us joining together to think of Danny. The water brings us together, the energy, and so we can all join and think about Danny and remember him. And it goes beyond that, because we will remember him forever, even if we're not in the water. There's an energy, mana, which is part of this tradition, and Danny becomes one with that energy. And we think of him with that energy, and it's part of us, and it's always around us. I go out to my backyard in San Francisco. I live at Ocean Beach, and I go out and I look to the sky and I hear the waves. I don't do it every night, but I look up and I go, Danny, are you there? And I'd like to say that I think that he is, and that I feel him, and it's he's always going to be there for us. So I also want to mention, I know that he was with Natasha, and Natasha made him very happy as well. So I don't want to leave that out. That's another part of his life that is controversial, and I want to recognize his happiness with Natasha as well. Some other people. Mark Wright is another one of our brothers who couldn't be here today, and I don't know if Miguel is here, but if any of the Freddie brothers are here, thanks for coming. But back to the energy. For me, Danny's still with us in spirit, in energy. The body that he occupied, the cells, the bones, the vessel, that's gone. But he's out of there and he's around us. And I just want us to always remember that and feel it and talk to him if we can. And with that, that's all I got. So thanks for coming, and we're going to have a successful paddle out and honoring our friend. Thank you.
I'm thankful for you to say all that, because you just did it. That was it, man. That was perfect. That's what we needed. I mean, we're all like a tribe. We're like a brotherhood out here when you surf and skate. You're when it's big out there, you're glad to see that guy next to you to go, hey, what's up, man? You're friends all of a sudden when it's huge and he's out there, and you're going, because you got his back and he's got yours. It's like it's a brotherhood. It's deep. It's weird, strange, but it is. So, he was a surfer and he was part of the brotherhood. And some of these guys, locals, they grew up here and they watched us come and go, and it's unreal. The surfing, the whole thing, that's what he loved. That was his deal. And you're right, man. The water brings you together, and so does music. They're right there. If you got that flow, you got one of those flows, you got it, baby. That's it. But yeah, we all love you. And Jennifer and Sarah, would you please come up and say something? I'd love to hear you, wherever you are.
I grew up with the Jaffes. I'm not sorry. There was a lot of uncertain times in my childhood, and Monty and Danny both just really took me in as their own. And every year we'd go to Sushi on Fire for my birthday, and we basically bought out the place. We would price. Danny literally just ordered whatever you want, any sushi. We would sit there for hours and just talk and have the best time. And when I graduated high school, my mom was away, and I wanted to have a graduation party. So Monty and Danny threw me a graduation party at their house, and all my friends and family came, and that's just like the epitome of who Danny was as a person. If he loved you, he would treat you as your own, and I'm just so lucky that he loved me like that, and he was able to treat me like that for as long as I got to know him.
I'm Jennifer, Sarah's mom, and Mati and Danny were my best friends after my divorce. Our children were the same ages, and we lived down the street. And I kind of have one of the most funniest memories about him is how we would all go to the beach together, and he had this thing with these Hawaiian rolls, and he'd make this peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And he'd always be the one to make sure that we have all the things, and he loved to pack sake to go to the beach too. And we would all walk together, my kids, his kids, and it was like we were one big extended family. And I remember he was just always like, "Don't forget this," and it was a hard time for me because I was divorced, and he was just like almost like a fatherly figure, a man influence for my children. And I'm honored to be here today. He was such a good man, and I feel his spirit, and it's beautiful to see all of you here. The kids are all grown up, but I don't want to talk too much. I thank you. I love you.
Beautiful job. Beautiful. Tina, would you like to say a couple more things? All right. Come on, you don't just hit the blow. Come on, you gotta say something.
Can you hold them?
It's actually in Hawaiian and concha in Spanish, so either way it fits because Danny he's got it all wrapped up.
I love that.
I wanted to let everybody know the process of, or rather how we proceed in paddle out. But first of all, I really want to thank Tracy and Miss Mati, Nick, Lucas, and Tommy for trusting me and my team, especially Mr. Don Ramsey, to help us all be here to remember somebody who's pretty much unforgettable. I'm gonna live with his work for the rest of my life, so I'm stoked about that. You better brush your teeth better. I was gonna give out toothbrushes to everybody because I thought, you know what, it's flowers, that's not forever, but toothbrushes speaks to your conscience. So. But in paddle out, what we do, this is called a pu'olu, and it has pua, flowers inside. And so the person who is the biggest deep down bro, which we've got Kenny, right? You are the kahuna, deep down bro. Okay. You're going to take the pu'olu on your board, and you're going to be in the center. Everyone else will follow you, and they will make a circle around you. And then you will hakalau, which is you hold hands. The left hand is up, the right hand is down. If it was left up to me, I'd write it down. And Kenny, you understood about mana, so that's where we're gonna have that flow. It's gonna come. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna take this pu'olo that was made by Tracy. You're gonna take it down into the water and let it go. Because mana is in this, and we're gonna add mana and love that we all have and put it into the ocean. We're gonna have that forever, okay? So for everyone who is not going out into the water, we're gonna go on the pier. We have lots of flowers for everyone to put their mana in as well, okay? So, Tracy, I wanna especially thank you again. I'm really, really thankful that you took such care to make sure that we all get to acknowledge and give dignity to a person who really cared for everybody else. And I'm amazed at how hard you worked. And I really want to say, I think you made Danny very, very proud today, so thank you.
Please say something, Tracy.
Okay, I'm Tracy. I have worked with Dr. Jaffe for about 5 years, and I had come from an office that was very fast-paced and just go, 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 money, 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 go, go, go. So when I started working at Dr. Jaffe's, he's the exact opposite of what I was used to. And very just laid back, walking like that. And so I would sit at my desk and have to force myself to relax, because I was always like used to working like that. And so finally I'm like, okay, you gotta relax, just relax yourself. But it was a very good, healthy thing for me to work with him. And I did this today because I wanted to make sure that his children knew what an impact he had on the community. Dr. Jaffe has seen and touched the lives of approximately 4,300 people. And so, and the biggest thing I've had people say to me when they have found out is, what am I going to do now? Everybody has said that. So it just shows you how close they were with him. And I'm gonna miss him. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wants to say anything?
Yeah, I do.
Come on. George?
I knew the doc for a while. You know, one of the biggest compliments I was ever paid really, really signifies who he was. Okay. I was told that I was like a cool breeze on a hot day. And that is exactly who he was. You know, most people see the dentist and, it's trauma. It's like, oh my God, I'm out of here. But he was different. And he did a lot of work, Doctors Without Borders and stuff like that. And not only did he do that there, but he touched my life too. When, my finances weren't there, he basically did an extraction, and he tells me, that's the same molar that took out Tutankhamun. And I was like, oh my gosh, it actually killed someone. And the tooth was abscessed. It got the size of a gumball, and all of a sudden it explodes, and my head's like Jack in the Box. And he tells me, you know what? We can save that. And I'm all like, hey, that thing almost took me out. Get rid of it. So another thing that he did was, he put in a gold crown. And I'm wearing that proudly. And he's got that gold crown in heaven. They say that store up for yourself treasure in heaven. Okay, where moth or thieves or rust will never corrupt it. And that's what he's done. He's touched all of us, and he's loved all of us, and he's taken care of us when we what insurance? Didn't have any insurance. Okay, so yeah, he loved on us. He took care of us. And that's who he was, and that's what we're celebrating right now. You know, one of the coolest things I ever saw was when he was walking down the street, and he's wearing Tutankhamun for Halloween. And I walked up and I get, you know, dude, you're styling. And he's with probably the most beautiful girl I ever saw. And I go, Tutankhamun. And he looks at me all defiant and he goes, Tutankhamun was 9 years old. Oh, excuse me, I realize you're a man. And that's the thing about him. He was the most grown-up person I ever met. You know, Huntington Beach is like a bunch of laid-back dudes, you know, and we never grew up, but he actually made it to manhood, and he's a great example of what a real man is. All right, I love you guys, and this guy's tapping me on the back. You're running off, so I'm running off.
Good job, George. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say something real quick, little story. In 8th grade, I was struggling a lot with school, and my dad, he would stay up very late to tutor me and help me with that. And anyways, at the end of the year, he rewarded me with an 8th grade yearbook, which I had no intention of getting, but I was pretty psyched until, of course, he got a custom message on it that said, "May the force be with you," with a Star of David at the end of it. So you can imagine how embarrassed I was walking around with that in middle school. And I went to him after. I'm like, "Dad, why did you do that?" And he just looks at me. He's basically, he just says, "Tommy, I am your father." May the force be with, that sort of thing. And I understand now that basically what he was trying to say was that when he's long gone, he's going to be with us, just like the Force and all that, and if you're familiar with Star Wars. But anyways, thank you all for coming out here. I really appreciate you guys being here. And love you all.
That's it. You know, we're all gonna get ready.
Let's get ready to share aloha. Right? Let's go.
All right, we're gonna set up on the beach, probably the south side, looks like it, so everybody's gonna set up on the beach there and get all the boards together. I gotta go run and put a suit on. I'm just down the street, so it'll be back probably about 20-30 minutes. We'll be over there on the south side of the pier, okay? If you need boards, like I said, I need to see over here at Zach's. If you need suits, I need to know.
This is Club George VIP.
Because he's gonna
hanging out with you.
Mike over
yeah,
there
we're here at a live
he's
celebration.
amazing, all right? Give it up for Zach's, you know where to get your rentals, right? He's the man, all right. And I heard 2 people so far, Don, so.
There's my boy. Sorry, Daddy abandoned you, but
Whoever goes over there,
you know,
will be going with me, so I need to
got to do what we got to do. Thank you so much.
get a suit here, okay? Because we're wrapping up.
Hey, this is Club George VIP hanging out with you. North side of the pier. We're here for Dr. Daniel Jaffe's celebration of life. He's an awesome individual. Anyway, this is Club George VIP, sponsored by Cubana Libre, the feminist revolution. That's right, Cubana Libre, 100% Cuban tobacco cigars rolled by the master himself.
Yeah, so there's still some more refreshments here. There's water over here to my left, and there's some donuts and some
This
coffee.
is Club
If
George
you wanna go
VIP.
ahead and help yourself. The paddle out will probably start by the
Signing
time
off.
everybody gets suited up.
We'll see you at the
Probably
paddle
about
out.
20 minutes to a half hour. So you got a couple minutes if you're
Shalom.
not going to go in the water to maybe come over
And,
here and right in the they have
In my words of signing
a
off,
book here that if you
Jesus
want to
rules.
sign and leave a little message to the family.